Hi everyone, this is Julius. I am one of the developers of the FMEditor, and today I will be delivering to you a new episode of our devlog. Previously, you've been hearing Konrad telling you about our progress. Today, I will be talking about mostly object editing tools, the way we have implemented them in our editor, and the way they compare with DromEd. Object system in DromEd and Dark Engine is very specific to that engine, and it's somewhat complicated, especially when you go deep into scripting, setting up some complicated interactions between AI and objects, etc., etc. So one thing that we had in mind was to make that skill easily transferable to FMEditor, which means that the user interface that we offer in FMEditor builds up upon the one that DromEd offers. However, DromEd being quite an old application, it leaves some room for improvement, and this is what we're trying to do, to improve but maintain backward compatibility and keep things familiar. One of the first changes that we've made that you will notice is that we have combined all the object editing dialogues into one object editor. So hierarchy and the properties are now tabs of one dialog. However, they all can be made into a floating windows. So that can be useful, especially if you work on more than one monitor. You will be able to align them in some way, maybe on the other screen, so they won't overlap your viewports. And at the same time, you still are able to interact with the scene. As you can see, I can scroll the viewport, rotate, etc., etc. That should save you from a lot of the clicks, and also, as you can see, we have now ability to work on multiple objects at the same time. I think this should be useful if you want to copy properties from object to object. Again, this should be a time saver. Same goes with editing the properties themselves. You are not limited to editing just one. At the same time, you can open properties from multiple objects and they can be all edited at once. As you close the tab, this should close the relevant properties dialogs. Now, another one is in the hierarchy view, you have this option, show concrete objects. So what this does, you can see the light green highlight. This means that those objects lead us to the concrete objects actually used in the mission. This is also another way of finding those objects. You don't need to find them physically on the map. Instead, you can locate them directly in the object hierarchy window. It shows you at a glance what's used and what's not used in that particular mission. Another new option is flat view. Flat view, as you can see, it removes those blue items, which are the menu items for the properties. I would imagine this option would not be used always. It's kind of intended for the more advanced users who kind of know which category each property belongs to, but you just want to kind of save yourself from expanding each and every menu to get to the property that you are interested in, because if you turn the flat view on, all the properties are listed directly under objects. Okay, let's move on to something more interesting, which is editing of the properties themselves. So let's jump into deep water by opening the conversation dialog. So as you know, the conversation is the most complex property, all of them. FMEditor offers access to all of the panels in one window, so you can choose between these steps just by clicking on those tabs here, and at the bottom you have tabs for the abort actions. Also at the top we have abort conditions, so there's no longer need to go back and forth and choose those and lose context of the rest of the conversations. So yeah, we have ability to edit at the per structure level, so to speak. So for example, we can copy values of each of those structs using this menu. Copy this, and let's say I can go here and paste here. Those buttons allows me to reset the changes done. If you need to, of course, they appear upon manual change as well. They serve also as an indication of what actually has been changed. So again, I can copy a single action and I need to paste it into the corresponding struct. I can reset my changes, or I can go one step higher, copy one conversation action and paste it into conversation action somewhere else, or I can copy entire step and paste it again somewhere else. Each time we copy a struct, we copy it also to the memory in a textual format. And what this means is we can go to a text editor and I can paste it as a JSON formatted string. Now, okay, this may be a little bit complicated for what we need right now, so I will just copy a single conversation action. So again, copy, paste. So that's much smaller. Let me change the language to JSON just for clarity. I can change the values if needed and paste it again somewhere else. Sorry. I used the wrong structure. I am editing conversation action, which includes the actor and the flags fields. So now you can see the values here. So this is one way of sharing presets. You can copy and paste those values on the forums, email, whatever. That's one way of doing it, but if you want, you can also use presets. Presets can be local, which are specific to this particular project. Project typically is your permission, or presets can be global, which means they will be available in all the fun missions and all the games effectively that you make. I have one preset here. Of course, doesn't make sense, but I can paste it wherever I want. Also, this particular struct action, it's shared across a number of properties. Presets are essentially JSON files that are saved to some specific locations. Global presets would be saved to the Documents, FMEditor presets folder, and then the local ones will be saved in the presets folder, essentially beside your mission file. Because in the editor I have currently opened first mission from Thief 2. You can find our presets inside the Thief2 presets folder. But if I was to work, let's say, on some fun mission, those would be saved in the fun mission folder, again, presets subfolder. And the thing about them is that they can be easily shared, so I can copy those and make them immediately available to another fun mission, or I can email them or post on the forums, and etc., and share those presets with others. Because this is a developer's log, I would like to touch upon some of the technical aspects of what I have showed you. If you think about it, in Dark Engine there are 348 or so different properties and over 60, almost 70 different types of links. So to create all those user interfaces, dialogues for each of those properties manually would be obviously a crazy thing to do. It became clear from the start that I need to take a data-driven approach to make this happen, and this led me to create this data structure XML file that contains definitions of all the properties and links, as well as other supporting data structures. For every data structure, this file defines a list of fields, their names, their user interface labels, their type, and some additional information like maybe flags, strings, etc., etc. There has been a couple of sources for all of the information. One of them was DromEd's Dark Utils, and specifically this file that we are here right now. It also contains definitions for all kind of structures from Dark Engine. It's been extremely useful, but it wasn't enough on its own, and in fact it wasn't even be the starting base for it. The base for my XML file was this file that we are looking at right now. It's been generated from DromEd by typing the dump props full command. You can find this file in the Thief installation folder, props list txt. This file contains a list of all the properties with the fields named after the user interface, names, and it has some interesting information which I couldn't find anywhere else, like source code type names, flags which specify specific behavior of certain properties, editor name, which is essentially a menu where the property lives. So I wrote a script that converted the text file into an XML. I could have probably used one of the Python's standard library for the XML files, like maybe element trees, but the problem with element tree is that the attributes, which are stored as a dictionary, they wouldn't keep the order, and it's been crucial for me to keep the order of the attributes, like those here. So I just decided to come up with my own solution that builds up the text of the XML file. This was a good start, however it wasn't sufficient. It turned out that DromEd gave me a list of fields in each properties in the order that they appear on the user interface, which is actually not the same as those fields are saved to the file. Besides, there are some unknown, unused, or just hidden fields from the user interface which are still saved as part of the structure in the files. But this is where the DromEd's XML file came in handy, because DromEd already figured out most of the unknown fields, and also he specified order fields to match the one that can be found in the files. I still had to finish off the definitions by updating them to the latest NewDark version, as well as adding some meta information like tag block names, as well as versions of each properties, just so we can read all the possible versions of the files for TIFF1, TIFF2 and System Shock. But once the XML file has been completed, Generating all the dialogues for the properties has been pretty easy and quite a pleasure to work on, to be honest. That's all we have for this episode. I hope you found it at least a little bit interesting. We still have some work to do, mostly the link editor, but also we have some ideas for improving editing the properties, but that will come later in the next episodes. Till then, thanks for listening and watching, and bye for now.